Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor, simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Sean Sims. Sean is a football player turned actor. I'd say football security guard turned actor. Sean is a very near and dear friend of mine, and this episode made me cry more than any other episode I've ever cried on. And if you've been watching these episodes, you'll know that I get emotional, but Sean made me cry several times. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. And if you're listening, you'll probably hear it in my voice. Sean is, again, a near and dear friend of mine. He is one of the most genuine, sincere, lovely human beings I've had the privilege of meeting in these last few years. We laugh about this. He's a big dude. He's big Simsy. He plays big football playing Sean, but is such a teddy bear who's been through so much in his life and has a beautiful story to tell. We talk about, and again, I should say trigger warning here, we talk about both of our mothers passing away from cancer. We talk a lot about race. We talk about typecasting, and we get into a lot of really emotional stuff that honestly, I really appreciate Sean being so vulnerable in this conversation. I knew he would be. Again, I've known this guy for a while and I've been wanting to have him on my show. He's a true friend. Please enjoy. Oh, I'm getting emotional already and this show hasn't even started. Please enjoy one of my favorite human beings on this planet, Sean Sims.
Just did a double shift, so I just got off.
Oh my god.
And I am like wired.
And you had your audition and now you have this.
No, I enjoy this. I enjoy when we talk and stuff. This is
this is
chill.
Bonus.
Yeah.
So were you awake all night?
Ugh. Yeah. I had a Tim Hortons coffee with a shot of espresso.
Nice.
Good. Yeah.
Have you gotten on to, so speaking as somebody who also works night shifts, have you gone to the energy drinks yet?
No.
Oh.
I tried it a couple times and it's just like, Now, a pre-workout, oh my gosh. A pre-workout and then your face is all like tingly and you want to rub your face and it's like, that is the shit.
I find pre-workout worse for me than energy drinks, which I'm like, I don't know what is on the scale of like coffee to cocaine as a doctor. Like, where's the happy medium of like, I am awake and can perform surgery. But pre-workout, I find like my hands, I can't do the pre-workout before my workout. My hands are too jittery.
Yeah, I feel like the ultimate warrior. I'm like, let's do it.
Lift heavy things.
Yep. Pick it up and put it down. That's it.
Well, yeah. Tell me your story. How did you get into this crazy business and now working night shifts and doing all the things you do?
Oh shoot. So I guess you start off when I was younger. I always wanted to play. I always wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to like write and screenplays and all this stuff. And I was just like, I was so big that I thought like, who would want to hire me, right? And so I had to make this choice between like football or trying to be an actor. And football was like really working out for me. So I was getting, starting to get looks and scholarship offers and all types of stuff. So, I decided to go with that. And then my mom was really sick. So it was just like football just seemed like the route to go. And, I went through my football career and I finished up just when my mom passed away. So I retired and I started working at this hospital. And when I was working at the hospital, I started dating this nurse and we were really working on getting outside of our lanes. So, like I was good at my job. I was doing security. She was good at her job. And we never kind of strayed from the path because, getting outside of your lane is really awkward, right? And, you're starting all over again. And you don't want to start all over again. You just want to be good, right? So we started doing salsa and bachata lessons, right? And from there, it was we had a conversation, and she's like, "Well, what do you really want to do? Because I don't see you as a security guard, for the rest of your life." And I'm like, "I always wanted to act, but I never thought, anybody would pick me." And it's weird because I was in this movie with Michael Clark Duncan, like this, like, straight to DVD movie or whatever, like a Hallmark Channel movie. And it was a football movie. And it's just like he was an inspiration. So we started looking for an acting school, right? Now, my first acting school was kind of like Cobra Kai, right? I always related to Cobra Kai, where it's like, the it was like a bunch of different teachers. So you were placating to which teacher was there that week. And then the head teacher was kind of like, he was very flirtatious with the girls, but, he didn't want to, I don't know. He was just like, this is how you take the scene, the person's angle and get a close up and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't want to learn this. I want to learn how to act. Right. And, but I'm one of those guys who tries to stick through. So I was there for like a year and some change, and I was just not liking it. And my girlfriend at the time, like, felt it. And she's like, let's find you like a better school. Right. So then we started looking. And I found my Miyagi-Do. It was just a really cool guy. I was training there ever since. And then it was, I was training there for like 5 years. And I was keeping it like on the down low at work, and everybody see the binder, and I'd be studying my monologues and all this stuff. And it's like, what are you doing? It's, don't worry about it. You worry about what I'm doing. And, I'm seeing like my peers in the class, they're, getting their agents and they're booking and, and at first I was like, maybe I'm not ready yet. I think there's so many things I have to work on and blah, blah, blah. And then after that, I was working a lot of overtime, and I was like, mañana, I'll do it, in the spring. I'll do it in the summer. I'll do it next year. And then 2020, the end of 2020, I lost my job, and it was really like, what am I gonna do? Like, oh my gosh, like, it's over. Like, what? I don't know what to do. And then something in me just said, Sean, it's like, you've been training for 5 years now. It's time to shit or get off the pot, right? And 3 days later, I found an agent, and a week later, I booked my first show, one of those reenactment shows. And it's just ever since, like, it's, incrementally getting better and better. I just love the adventure.
Oh, I have so many questions. I'm a little emotional thinking about young Sean. Why, when you were younger, what was it about acting that you loved?
I think it was when I was a kid. I used to, my mom was a single parent family. She didn't want, and she didn't want me to, go out in the streets and get into trouble. And, it's just like I was her only son, right? And she really wanted to break. So I was like always in the house. And I would be playing with my, action figures, and I would be coming up with stories and, different voices and personalities. And, so I always had an easier time, like, expressing myself and putting myself out there. It's weird. It was like I was shy as a kid, but when it was like, you put me on a stage or whatever, or like drama class, it was I was out there, right? And I think athletes don't are it's easier for athletes to put themselves out there because I feel once you're around a team and you show yourself to the team and like your personality, you don't really care because you only care about like how the team judges you, not anybody else. All right? Yeah. So
yeah,
go on.
Well, something you said really hit me really hard, and you talked about being a big dude and feeling like no one's good. A lot of men, you're a big dude. Anyone who knows you knows you're a big fucking teddy bear. And the feeling of not thinking anyone would hire you, so then going towards something like football because that's where people would hire you. Tell me more about that. That like breaks my heart, but it also is a reflection of these visual industries that I think you found yourself in acting, football, security, right? Everything's very visual. Like you have to be big to do the job you've done. You've been typecast.
That's true. I never thought of it like that. When I was a kid, I was I was really small and like skinny and lanky, and my mom put me in like martial arts class, so I was taking this karate class, and I even got like thinner because I was doing it like maybe 2-3 times a week, right? And then when I got into high school, what was it? Tryouts came, and I was like, I'm probably not going to make it. What's the point, right? Just concentrate on school. And one day the coach walked by me. He's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Why didn't you go out for football?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't think I was gonna make it." He's like, "You're on the team. Just be there at practice, right?" So when I got there at practice, and the first like year and a half, I was getting my ass kicked at like all over the place. And I went to this combine, and I had a lot of father figures in my life. So I had my sensei, I had my coach John Simus for Mississauga Warriors, and he took me under his wing, and he made me a better football player. And when you're growing up, and like where I was from, it was just like the quickest path and the most successful path was like sports and playing football and getting there. And I just, my mom was sick. She had kidney failure, and I'm just like, I have to be able to take care of her. And I just didn't know, what I was gonna do. And I'm like, I have to play football. And while I enjoyed playing football, I didn't love it. Like my friends loved it. I loved the camaraderie because I was, I didn't like, I had friends, but, once I started joining the team, it was like, you have friends for life and family, right? But like my friends could play, go 2-a-day practices, watch film, go back home and, play Madden. But for me, it was just like, I want to, watch this show, or I want to write this and, draw the, so it's like, I loved it. I loved the camaraderie, and I enjoyed my career as a football player, but I didn't love it like my friends. But I love acting, And I guess it was just like acting was like that girl that you were in love with, but you never thought that the girl would give you a chance. And then, you realize she was just waiting for you to talk to her like the whole time,
Oh, that's so lovely. It's interesting because I think like there's so many things about your life story that are fascinating. And I think having worked with a lot of high-level athletes, it's interesting to see that as a career that is all-encompassing, because it truly has to be.
Yeah.
But I think more so than a lot of other careers that I talk to people about, athlete is not just a career, it's your identity. And
Yes.
there's a huge
Yes.
loss when retirement occurs, especially
Oh,
in young people like yourself in
yeah.
a sport like football where a career is very short-lived and you're retiring
Hmm.
from your career before people in your peer group have even started their careers.
Yeah.
You're already going through a retirement grieving process, but
Yeah.
huge because it is your identity.
It was my identity for the longest
Oh.
time. I was Big Sims, the football player, and like, okay, I got drafted to the Argos, right? And when I got drafted, my mom hit her head when she was going to wheel trans, and she got a subdural hematoma, and she needed surgery. So while I'm like preparing to see if I was even going to get drafted or not, she was in the hospital. Then on draft day, I get drafted. It was probably a few days later. She got the procedure, right, to drain the blood, the fluid from her head, and they're like, no, it's no problem. The doctor was like, it's no problem. She's gonna be awake, and when she comes out, you'll be able to talk to her and whatever. So come after the surgery, she's getting wheeled down the hall into her room, and she's looking at me, and she's like, are you okay? She's like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm like, Mom, do you know who I am? And she's just like, broke my heart. So now I am, uh, so now I get drafted. Now I'm going to training camp, and I didn't have a car. So after training camp, like maybe like 10 o'clock, I'd go take the bus from like U of T, Mississauga to the hospital downtown and stay there all night and then go. So it's just like almost a month of that, and I was just like, I was done. I didn't care about anything except for and then luckily my mom was able to come out of the hospital and see me play an exhibition game like at the Sky Dome and stuff, and that was great, like seeing her. But yeah, so that happened, and then she got breast cancer, and then I was just like, man, like I don't know if football is like, maybe it's God's trying to tell me something, right? Then she was in remission, and she was I had an opportunity to play in France, right? And I'm like, Mom, I don't know if I'm good. She's like, Mom, Sean, go. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Trust me. I was talking to her doctors, the nurses. They're like, Sean, she's fine. No problem. So I go and play in France. And, I'm there for a little bit. And we're in playoffs. And we have one more game. I lose the game. I'm calling her to tell her that, I'm coming home. And the whole time I was there, I'd call every other day to check with the nurses. She's fine. She's fine. She's fine. I call. Couldn't get a hold of her. My best friend Josh goes to see her. And my next door neighbor is like, she's at the hospital. I call the nurse. You need to get here as fast as possible. So I fly there. I get to the airport. Josh picks me up. We go to the hospital. My mom sees me, and she's like, smiles, what took you so long? And boom, went downhill. 2 weeks on her birthday, because I knew she was waiting for her birthday. She watched me eat my breakfast, and then, we're waiting for the cake, and there's like, when somebody's dying and there's like that breath that is like, like they take that, and I look at her and I'm like, it's okay, Mom. I'll be okay. Yeah, I'll be okay. And she shed one tear and passed away. And I was just like even before that, I was, I thought she was sleeping, and I was just like, Mom, I don't know. It's like every time I try and play football or whatever, it's like something happens. and I think I'm going to retire. And she got up. She's like, Sean, don't you? And she went back to say, and it was just like, after she passed away, I had to make this decision whether I wanted to play football or not. But it was just like, now there's no safety net, you know? So I had to start working. So then I started working at the same hospital where she passed away. And I was there for like 13 years. And, you know, getting back to it, it's like, it was such an identity being Sean, the football player. And then it was Sean, the protector. You know, I was protecting people. And, you know, when my mom died, there was nobody there to protect me. But everybody's looking, you know, for protection from me, but there's nobody, you know, and I was just like, I you know, what I love about acting is like, especially when you book and you're on set, it's like people are protecting you. That's like, I'm so not used to that, you know, because I'm always, anybody sees me, it's like, you know, oh, you're so big, you're gonna protect me, right? It's like who's gonna do that for me?
Yeah. Who protects?
Sorry, I kind of
went
on a rant, but
no. Like it's the idea of well, and who protects the protector?
Yeah.
Right? There needs to be. And I think that's where we do, I think, such a disservice to I think a lot of people, you know? And I think, and it's the problematic typecasting that comes with not just our industry, but just social, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and this is just going back to, you know, not to like, well, we've trauma bonded. We've both lost brothers and been through very similar situations, but there was an interesting feeling of, after my mom died, of, well, now what? How much was I doing to appease my mom, or think I was appeasing my mom? Thinking like, oh, I want her to see me do these things. Almost to the point of like, I should get married, because my mom has always said she'd wanted to see me get married. Like, which is just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then after she passes away, there's almost like, oh, and I hate saying this because it sounds awful, a weird sense of relief. And that like freedom, but that freedom that comes with insane amounts of change and challenge and grief as well too. Did you feel something like that? Was that a big like nexus for change for you?
So for my mom to pass away, because it's like she had kidney failure, you know, the subdural hematoma, then breast cancer, like she was a strong woman, you know, and she was worried about like, you know, what was going to happen to me. For my mom to pass away, and when I said like, Mom, it's okay, I'll be okay, and she passed away, she knew I was going to be okay. So I didn't feel that so much, but when my mom was on her deathbed, like my friends came, because everybody came to Mama Sims's house when they were younger, and Mom would cook. And, you know, me and one of my best friends, Raf, we were talking to the doctor, and Raf's fiance was talking to my mom in the room. And my mom said, the biggest regret is that I'm not going to be able to see my grandchildren. And this is the same woman that every time, like, she'd see a girl coming, Sean, do, be careful. These girls, you don't know, they're going to try and get pregnant, da. And these girls, and she had the best name for it. She's like, what happened to the lie down artists? That lie down, these girls are a bunch of lie down artists and all this stuff. She'd scare me straight on, like, you know what I mean? And then now all of a sudden, you know what I mean? She's like, you better not get any girl pregnant. You better not blah, blah, blah. And now she's on her deathbed and she's like, the biggest regret is that I'm not going to be able to see my grandchildren. So when she passed, So then I'm like in these relationships that I know aren't going to work, but I'm trying to make them work because, now the freeing part was that I knew that she knew I was going to be okay, And I think everything happened for a reason. When I went to France, it was a life-changing experience, but like, I just know she's with me all the time. You know what I mean? And she's watching over me. So it's just like, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that just clicks in my head. And again, this is a huge assumption, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but do you find acting gives you the ability to be a vulnerable human being when the rest of society has said, you're a big black dude, you can't be vulnerable, you need to protect everyone else?
Yeah. So I'm constantly walking on eggshells, and I am very, I try and like my voice, I change my voice sometimes just to, make, and it's just like when I'm acting, I can be who I want to be. But at the same time, I'm still learning to let myself go. You know what I mean? And get angry, right? Imagine always keeping your anger in check, and it's just like I'm almost like I almost typecasted myself in life, right? I'm first I'm the big football player, then I'm the big protecting security guard, and I'm doing these things where it's like it's just capitalizing on my size and my strength, and I always have to keep myself in check because anytime I come around the corner and we're dealing with a cold white situation or whatever, as soon as I come, they're trying to provoke me. You know what I mean? Not just as a big man, but like, as a black man too. It's like, they start, oh yeah, you're a real thug. Oh yeah, it's just like, and you have to hear all this stuff, and it's just like, you learn that patience, and you learn to just, control your anger, like control your emotions. And now it's learning to like, and especially in acting, to bring those emotions out. And emotions that you haven't even used, because it's just like as a man, you know what I mean? You're taught as a man, and it's like, I'm a, West Indian background, you're not supposed to like show emotions like that. You're not supposed to, and it's just like, now you're learning, and it's like, you're kind of taught like to take that emotion you're feeling and transfer it into something else. You know what I mean? So you could, when I was playing football, it's like you might get emotional on the field and pissed, or you want to get emotional, you feel that, and then you try and you transform that into anger, and then you push that out. But it's like, I had an outlet, I had a field, I had players that are willing in pads, and now you're afraid to let that out because, now you're in your acting studio, or, you know what I mean? You're training, and it's like, you don't want to let that out because you don't know. And I remember, I don't know if this was you, but it was like when my mom died, it was like, and the funeral, I didn't want to cry because I didn't know if I was going to get out of it, because now it's just me. And I didn't know if I could get myself out of that hole, So it's just, it's new having these outlets that you can,
yeah.
Yeah.
There is a huge parallel that I'm realizing, and it's in medicine. In medicine, there's the idea of emotional restraint, right? Something is happening in front of you that will make any human who's not a sociopath upset. You as the doctor can't show that because you don't want the patient to panic, but also you can't constantly be showing that, otherwise you're going to burn out. It's so getting into acting where it's like, now I need to be emotionally vulnerable and show that to the world is really, really hard because I've tamped it down for so long.
Yeah.
There's such a parallel, and it's obviously, it's not like these are completely different ways to have emotional restraint,
Mm-hmm.
where yours is, not just in your professional career, in security, having to emotionally restrain yourself so you're not being unprofessional as a security guard, but also as an individual walking through this society, who you are, having to emotionally restrain yourself because of perception.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
feel
blowing
like,
my mind.
I think we had this conversation before, and it's like sometimes I was like, sometimes I feel like a gorilla in a cage. You know what I mean? It's like it's like everybody wants to see the gorilla, but nobody wants the gorilla to be a gorilla.
Poke, poke,
yeah.
poke.
And then when the gorilla has, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, I can't believe, oh my God, somebody called, it's like, I can't.
Get your cell phones out, film it. Yeah.
Yeah, but even like, okay, like you've been in situations in the merge where it's like, maybe a guy has some mental health issues and he's on a form and he's a big guy. All the nurses are like, oh my gosh, oh, I'm so scared. But, this guy's just maybe working out in his room and, well, I'm scared. Why are you scared? Well, he's working out in his room. Okay. It's usually not the big guys you have to worry about.
Because they're very aware of the impact that this has on society.
Yeah. I think of like how many physical, encounters I've had. It's not the big guys you worry about, but.
What else have you noticed? Have you brought from your careers prior to acting into your acting career?
I've noticed that athletes have an easier time becoming actors, because when you're a student athlete, all you do is go to work, study, work out, train. The coach tells you to do this, you do it. The teacher tells you to do this, you do that. You know what I mean? And it's just like the star players, the hard workers, can incorporate that into acting and learning how to become a better actor. So I've noted, like, I used to go to this kind of like sports specific gym where it's like people who are trying to go pro, people are trying to get scholarships, people who got their scholarships and are trying to go into combines and all types of stuff. And I met like two of my best friends, Julian Laurent and Denzel Phillip, and these guys are like, Denzel is just built like a colossus. And I was just like, one day I was just like, you know what, guys, you guys should be actors. I'm like, really? And they gave it a try. We're under the same agency and they're booking left and right and doing. And it's just because, like, I've known Denzel for years, and ever since he was a kid, he'd go 2 hours from on the bus to go to this gym and then go back home and do the same thing. It's just a work ethic.
Yes. Huge work ethic. And I don't think we give athletes this credit, but time management skills, especially as a student athlete, and as an actor, that's probably one of the most powerful lessons I learned from my time as a student athlete as well too. Is how to manage my time properly and be successful. Yeah. Since being in this industry, has there been anything that has surprised you about entertainment, acting, the world?
I think is dealing with the personalities. When you've been in, for most of my life, I was playing a sport, and I was playing a violent sport. I was playing a sport where it's like coaches would encourage you. Like, let's say, you were, one of my good friends, Daryl Cole, he was an offensive lineman, and we go to practice and we get into fights. You know what I mean? And it's just like they break it up, And the coach would be like, good hustle, and blah, blah, blah. And now you're a civilian and you're living in this world where it's like, people are talking to you crazy. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and it like, even what, I joke with my teacher about this. It's like, there's always that one guy in the class where it's like, good looking guy, probably, works out a lot and just thinks, because I work out and I'm a good looking guy, I'm going to be just, the shit. And they read that, they read the book on how to be an alpha and stuff. And it's just like when they're talking to you, they're trying to talk down to you and it's like, and then you have to just sit there and it's like, like you weren't a gladiator, like you weren't, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, all right, cool. And it's like, this is the new normal now, so it took a while from playing the sport to being a civilian.
Do you think
if that makes sense? If I'm rambling, just tell me. Okay.
It's emotional restraint. It's emotional restraint, right?
Yeah.
To be watching these people in front of you being like, what? And then I don't know about you, but I kind of go, and this is so bad. Am I the only sane person here?
No, because other people see it too, but it's just like, they've developed that, like, oh, okay, that customer service where it's like, oh, okay, this person is noted, and just care about. But it's like sometimes I see that and it's like, you know what I mean? And I see that so much in, like, when I was just starting out, and especially, you're doing like maybe reenactment shows, and, there's always that one actor that tries to act too cool for school and it's just like not needed. It's like, hey, how's my, we good? And just like standing, and he's lifting up his calves and looking at it. It's like, yeah, okay, I think we should do it like this. It's like, come on, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you did not go to theater school per se, like professional theater school. I mean, obviously you're training. No. What? And I know you had support from a prior partner. Mm-hmm. How did you build the career? How did you know what you needed to do? How did you learn?
Honestly, I always relate this is almost like learning how to be a man sometimes, where it's, you don't get told all of the things that, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's guessing and figuring it out and trial by error, because some people don't tell you stuff, right? What did I learn? A lot of it I learned is, especially just starting out, when I found an agent and whatnot. Wendy Elaine Wright on YouTube. Yes. And I started watching the videos and I was like, because I like her because she's like real, you know what I mean? She tells it how it is. And I'm used to like having coaches like that, calling you out your name and whatever. And it's just like, yeah. And it's just like, oh, don't do this. This is stupid. Fix your resume. Do this. And then, I have an agent that is not afraid to tell you you're screwing up too. And it's like, don't do this. Make sure. Here's an example. And then following that example, like, the video, like she'd send videos of like, here's some of our most successful actors and how they, set up their audition tapes and whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. Because there's so many things you're not doing. And since end of 2000 to now, I've had like 335 auditions, and I have all my auditions in it, like on my computer. And it's like, I can watch them and just like, oh my gosh, it's just seeing where you are now. But nobody tells you. Nobody really tells you. It's like, oh, read this. You know how many times it's like, you'll get something from casting, like workbook, and it's like, you're like, but where's the due date? I can't find a due date. But it says this due date. But this due date is today, and I just got it today. So what does that mean? Like, where do I find, you know what I mean? And like looking for that. There's so many things, and you're afraid to ask. And that's why it's very important that, once you get that knowledge, make sure that you're bringing the people around you up too and explaining that. Because if you don't, I like my boys are like Julian Laurent, Denzel, Phillip, John Thomas Gauthier, and it's just like I will tell him like, hey, don't do that, or he'll explain to me, and we just help each other. But it's like I said, it's like being a man. Like sometimes you're getting the wrong information. Sometimes nobody's giving you information, and sometimes you have like some really cool people that it's like, oh no, you do it like this, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's a weird gatekeeping in this industry.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why. It's not like there's like, it's like, oh, if I keep this hidden, I'll get the role. This is not a thing. It's very frustrating.
You know what's funny? Like I'm a COVID baby, right? So all my, auditions for the longest time were self-tapes, right? So it's
Yes.
Yeah. So then it's like, I've probably had like 4 auditions in person where, I had to go to wherever and actually do it. And you go there and there's like, everybody's like, just, in their corner, eyeing each other down. And like, maybe there'll be a few like, oh, we know each other, we're from the same suit. But, I go in there, it's like, hey, what's up? And everyone's like, it reminds me of like being in a combine. You know what I mean? Like a football combine. Like, it's like you're trying out and there's all these scouts there and you're trying, you have your group of people, but everybody's like eyeing each other down and,
Yeah. Do you find you're able to withstand that immense pressure that can come with that?
Yeah,
better?
because it's like I've dealt with people in the same situation and they're hitting me. So like, you're not hitting me and I'm not afraid of you. I mean, they could be better than me, but I'm never going to know because they're going to go into the room and do something. And then I'm going to go into the room and do something. Right. So it's like, you never, like me, it doesn't bother me.
Mm. That's so interesting. And I think something you also said, which I was recalling, you're the second like football player turned actor that I've had, and something that he had mentioned, he played for Harvard, and he mentioned about how much he craves and has been in search for an acting coach who will give him the constructive criticism that he needs, akin to a football coach, and finding it tough because he's like, I can handle it. Like, and I think about like some of the surgeons I've worked with who will like scream at me, and I'm like, no, and I understand this is constructive, but you're like, I don't need wishy-washy. Yay, you did your acting so good. I'm like, tell me what I did wrong so I can fix it.
So that's like my agent, right? My agent is just like no hold, but I've noticed lately that she's been like, we'll be talking about something. It's like, well, hey, how did you like my, my reel? And he's like, well, it's just and I'm like, just tell me. And she's like, fine, it's da 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 da. But before, when I was new, she would just be like, you know what I mean? But I guess it's like now we're, developing that, kind of relationship now where it's like, maybe she doesn't want to hurt my feelings too much or whatever, but I'd prefer that. And my teacher, he is like a father that you're constantly looking for approval from, but he won't give you the approval. You know what I mean? So you're like, you do it and it's like, yeah, okay. Next. You know what I mean?
Oh my God,
and
I'm
you're
having
like,
anxiety
next.
by process.
And then it's just like, what? And you go to next week and you're doing something. And I'll never forget, I was in class and it was like the past few weeks, I'm just like I'm doing my scenes and I'm not getting like feedback that I want. Like the ego in me wants me to be like, oh, good job. Like that first school I was talking about, it's like, oh, good. Oh, that was wonderful. It was shit, right? But he's just like, okay, next. So I do this scene, I finish it, I sit down, I'm like this, and he's right there, he's looking at me smiling, and I'm like, what? What's up? And he's like, I'm just looking at you. You're gonna be a famous actor one day. And I was just, so it's like, my teacher, he doesn't give praise like all the time or often. But when you do get that, it's like somebody telling you you're in a relationship and somebody telling you I love you all the time. It's like I love you, I love you. It doesn't mean as much as somebody, that doesn't say it all the time is like, Janet, I love you. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah. It dilutes it, I think, for some people, right? Yeah. And when there's a respect there, and when there's a respect there for the person higher up in your hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
When you get that affirmation, then it means doubly, or if not triply, quadruply more to get a little smidgen of affirmation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Do you have any advice for anyone who might be looking to change careers into acting, or is kind of struggling to find their way?
You have to treat your what you're doing every day to get by as your side piece, and you have to treat your dreams as your main chick. Your side piece is never gonna decide what's gonna go down. It's the main chick. You're always making a main person happy. You know what I mean? And it's just like you can't be afraid to just leap. Like I was so scared. Like when my mom died, and I was like, I stopped playing football because it's just like, man, I don't have a safety net. And then 2020 happens, and I have no safety net, and I'm just like, just leap. And since I've let, it's just, it's an adventure, and it's working. And sometimes, it's not going to be, sunshine and rainbows all the time. It's work, but it's just the adventure. Like I'm in an adventure where, there's no invincible mode anymore. You know what I mean? There's no cheat codes. Like when I was playing football, it's just like, you were leveled up. You could get to a certain level. Now it's just like a new frontier, and don't be afraid to leap. But as far as like, when I'm like, I have a job that I may not enjoy because I'm not doing what I love, but I make sure I do that to the best of my ability. But if I book something, nothing is going to stop me from going. You know what I mean? And it's just like, because acting is my main chick. I love her. You know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, I have this relationship where, I'm making money and I'm doing something I don't necessarily like, but it's like, don't be afraid. I guess that's saying, never let your girlfriend get in the way of finding your wife.
Oh.
Like at the end of the day, it's just like, like I'm never going to let my job get in the way again, because before it was just like I was doing overtime and I was doing this, and it was like mañana, I'll do it, January, I'll do it in the summer, and then it was the next January and the next summer, and it's just like now I'm just going. I am not a womanizer. I am not a thing. I'm just using analogies. I'm an analogy person, so please don't judge me.
And okay, I will corroborate that. Knowing you as a human person friend.
Yeah. I'll just makes it just, that analogy works for me.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think what my question is, before I ask you my questions I always ask at the end.
Well,
this is kind of a wooey question, but what made you or makes you not scared to have that leap? Like, is that an innate sense that you've just had always? Or like, what was it that you were like, here we go?
No, I'm scared. Scared all the time. Like, brave people are scared. You know what I mean? It's the bravery is knowing that you're scared and doing the right thing. So it's just, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be, a successful working actor all the time where I can make this my job. You know what I mean? And I can enjoy my life and just living my dream. Maybe I had to come to the realization that maybe, just maybe, I'm not the one that's supposed to, go to the next level or whatever. Maybe it's my friends around me that I told them, like, hey, maybe you should try acting. And they became actors and they're booking and whatever. Maybe my role in the universe was to tell that one person the right thing that got them to be greater, right? But it's just enjoying the journey, and just being the best person I can be, and it's just accepting that. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, and it's scary, but it's exciting at the same time. But I know I have people who love me. I know I've met like amazing friends like you, like Johnny, like, you know what I mean? And I'm going to have lifelong friends, and maybe that's just a journey. Maybe that's what happened. But, I could, just like my mom died and she knew that I was going to be okay, I can die tomorrow knowing that I'm actually going for something that I truly love.
I'm getting emotional again. That's so beautiful.
Nope.
Buddy. Okay. A happy, funny questions while I wipe my nose and my eyes here. And beautiful. You're a fucking beautiful guy. Do you have any favorite moments on sets?
Yeah.
It could be funny stories too.
Actually, so I have, I was telling you about like John Thomas Gautier, right? And when I just got my like I became full union into ACTRA, I got this I booked this show called Pretty Hard Cases, right? And that's where I met Joseph and Johnny, right? And since then we've become like, we're just like this. And John's like actually like this is the call sheet.
Oh my god.
And he framed the call sheet from when we first met. So yeah, that was really cool.
Oh my god, that is so special.
Right there. Yeah.
Oh my god. For those of you listening and aren't watching it on YouTube, Sean just showed a framed call sheet from when he met his buddy. That is.
Yeah. My bromance.
We
my
know.
bromances.
We both know Johnny. He's my sober buddy in Christ or whatever.
Yeah.
What a gem. That is just that. That is. This is such a corny thing to say, but like. That is the reason.
Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
life should be about, right?
Yeah.
Is connection. If at the end of days we're looking back at like our godforsaken life or whatever, those are the things that we remember. That is so fucking special. That is awesome.
I'm a firm believer now that like things happen for a reason, no matter how bad and how, it's just like, if I didn't get cut and, go and play in France and, my mom passing away, I don't know if I would be the person I am today. You know what I mean? As I remember one of my best friends, his dad died. But before I used to call him and talk to him, when my mom died and, he was a very spiritual person. And he told me, he's like, whether... whoever's listening out there, whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in, he's like, Sean, you have to be careful on, like, when you ask God to make you stronger or give you a blessing, right? Because he's not going to give it to the way like alakazam, boom, you got it. He's going to do it his way, right? And God is like or the universe is like a personal trainer. You say you want to lift 225 and he's going to put 215 on, and you're going to be struggling, and one day you're going to lift that up, and then he's going to put on more weight, right? Because that's how you grow, right? So it's like everything that's happened to you, like take that. And especially if you're an actor, and I don't mean like go method if that's your thing, what you know what I mean, but it's like take those experiences, because a lot of times, especially now, like these younger kids, it's like I remember my teacher telling me, he's like, sometimes these kids like read the script and don't know what's going on in the script because they don't have those experiences. So it's like you have to have that trial and error. You have to fail. You have to fall flat on your face. You have to be embarrassed. You have to, your ego gets checked. Your everything. It's like it iron sharpens iron. And it's like you have to go through those experiences. So like what? Yeah, go on. No, I was just saying, like, while I miss my mom and I love her, like I had to understand that it's like I can't be as egotistical to think that because I don't understand the universe's plan that she was just taken away arbitrarily. You know what I mean? It's just like you have to go through it. And like with that sacrifice, she's made me a better person.
Oh, holy, yeah. I think that's a way to think about things that is so emotionally mature and a little frustrating, because I think we want to stomp our feet at the unfairness of it all. And I think so much we look at some of the people around us and they haven't been through a lot of the stuff that we've been through, and they're achieving the things that we want. And we're like, this isn't fair. Stomp, 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 stomp. But I like that you said, like, there's no way it can be arbitrary. Because I think regardless of who you believe in this world, even if it's science, that physically and scientifically and spiritually, nothing is arbitrary. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that's got me thinking. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason, and it's not your job to understand how things work all the time and how it's just you have to go through life. You gotta put your energy against the negative and change your vibration. You know what I mean? Because the harder you push against it, the higher you vibrate. And it's just like you have to go through that stuff.
Yeah. Oof. Is there anything you are looking forward to coming up this year?
I don't know about this year, but I'm looking forward to working with you someday.
Hell yeah. It'll happen. Put it in the universe.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
It'll happen. Yeah, absolutely. One day.
I think it's going to be a big year for us.
I think it will be too. And I think it's one of those things where my mind needs to change the definition of what is a successful big year. Because I think we see what society perceives actors as being successful, and we know, having been in it, it's like so hard, right? It's so hard.
It's like, you're in high school and you see the person who's student council president, who has, is getting A's all over the place, who's always happy and whatever, and then, you notice she's not, they're not there for, the semester because they had a nervous breakdown or something, Like everybody's not happy, and it's like you should never be jealous of envious of what another person has, because you don't know what they had to go through to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think jealousy is, again, like one of the lowest common denominator emotions.
And
It's tough because we all are jealous as human beings. It's just in our nature. But I think there was this amazing quote, and I will always butcher it. It's like, I can't remember who said it even, which is terrible. But about like people never judge those below them. Like the CEO should never judge or say bad things or like, what's it, troll, or critique.
you should never punch up or punch down.
Punch down.
Yeah,
exactly.
punch down.
Like the people who are trying to who are punching up, trying to like disparage you, they're sitting in the cheap seats. They didn't even buy a full price ticket to your show. Like, just rise above. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I've grown up watching, black heroes that have gone through stuff way worse than me. Like imagine being, Jackie Robinson, or, the first black guy to do anything. You can't just be good. You have to fly.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think everybody has this feeling where it's like things have to be given to them, or they're entitled to something, and just go out there and be. You know what I mean? And be the best you can be, and be great. And it's in being great, it's like you have to study, you have to practice, you have to, sometimes, you're by yourself, and you that imposter syndrome comes in, and, it's like, wow, this person's booking something, that person, why aren't I? It's like, now I just think, well, what can I do to get better? How can I make this car faster? You know what I mean? Am I going to the gym? Am I working on my elocution? Am I working on, am I reading monologues? Am I reading screenplays? Am I doing there's so many things I can do to get better, and there's so many, there people that, another thing is like people who say like, oh, I really got to get to school eventually and blah, 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 blah. Like, you want to be great, right? You want to be great, like a great actor. Like, go to class. You have to go to class. Go to class, because that would be like you're a UFC fighter and you're fighting in the UFC and you don't train. You don't go to train. You know what I mean? It's like you have to train, because you want to be champion or you want to stay champion. You have to do all these things. You're not going to just walk off the street and start knocking people out and being a champion. It's like work. So go to class.
Well, with that being said, do you have any other final words of wisdom or advice?
Don't ever let anybody tell you they don't love you twice. That's it. If you're in an environment and somebody is not invested in you, or you feel they're not invested in you, or they feel that you're trying to do something great for yourself and be the best person you can, and they're hindering that, maybe it's time to move forward and keep moving. I'm lucky enough, I have an amazing girlfriend, with me for like the past, this is our third year now, and, COVID babies, right? We just met each other during COVID, and it's just like, she's amazing. I have a great core group of friends. And that's another thing. Like, people, there are going to be people in your life that you thought you were your friends, and then stuff gets really hot, and you're going to find out who your friends are. You know what I mean? Thank the universe for that. because they're showing you before you become before you become the person you're supposed to be, and you would have brought those people with you and they would have torn you down. So it's like now, surround yourself around friends that are tested, and they're not friends, they're family, because family you can get in an argument with, and you know what I mean? Maybe sometimes me and Janet don't see eye to eye, but like I'm never going to not talk to her, or I'm never gonna, it's just because we're family now, that's it.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Sean, for being my guest this week. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable, so lovely, for making me cry, for making me ruin my makeup several times. After we stopped recording, I was very, very emotional. He is, like I said in the introduction, and as you've just witnessed, one of my favorite people on this planet. Thank you, Sean. I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!